Clemson 57, SMU 54. The Mustangs did not make a basket in the last 6 minutes and 14 seconds of this game. Was an ugly offensive showing from both sides. Not a lot of shots went down. They combined to shoot 5 of 35 from three between the two of them. This has kind of been a theme throughout the ACC tournament. Not a lot of great perimeter shooting, but Clemson still found a way to get it done. How were they able to do so?
Chase Hunter awakening in the second half. This was just, it felt like a really weird game. It did not play out how we envisioned. I was very much in the camp of thinking Clemson wins this one handedly, when at least gets a double digit win, but not like the Mustangs had a very real chance to win this at the end. They had multiple attempts, multiple chances. I honestly think it comes down to like a little bit of shot luck. I mean, SMU shooting 1 for 14. I don't know if Clemson was doing anything especially different to run them off the line. It's just so rare that you would see a team like they kept it within one in the rebounding battle, which that's something that we know is like Clemson's bread and butter. Is
Yeah.
they beat you up on the glass. SMU had the same amount of offensive boards. SMU scored 40 points in the paint compared to 24 for Clemson, so it wasn't like looking at this performance, it the way that it played out, it didn't necessarily feel like Clemson forced a ton of tough shots. I guess maybe they got them to take some tough jumpers, but it still felt like SMU could score around the basket to where at the end of the day, I think what it came down to really was Chase Hunter showing why he's one of the best guards in the. I mean, he's one of the best guards in the league and probably one of the most underrated guards in the country. I know he had a couple chances late to hit a big three that would have put the game away for good, and he wasn't able to connect. But still, it felt like down the stretch, he was coming up with clutch play after clutch play. Had the chase down block. I know they called a foul on it too, but that felt huge, even though
Yeah.
like the turnover was on him. But yeah, I thought his poise down the stretch showed that even though this was really ugly, I'm still not counting out Clemson to win this tournament and then to even make a little run in the NCAA tournament as well.
Yeah, you look at what Clemson typically does well. Like what typically wins them games is the rebounding advantage, the interior play, and also the fact they don't turn it over a ton. It's a veteran
Hmm.
group, particularly in the backcourt. They turned it over 16 times. Rebounding battle was pretty much even. And as you mentioned, SMU beat them up in the paint, scored 40 of their 54 on the inside. Yet they still won the game. And I think that's what matters, and that's the difference between having somebody like Chase Hunter and not. Because he stepped up and made the plays when Clemson needed them. SMU was counting on Chuck Harris or Boopy Miller to do that, but those guys combined to shoot 8 of 24 from the field and did not make a three. I think the fact that Clemson had a go-to guy they could rely on and SMU could not to pull them out and get some offense going when everything's kind of a struggle was the difference.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you with that completely. Just even thinking like Chuck Harris to me was the X factor coming into this game because he's a 43% three-point shooter. Went 0 for 7 like with the season on the line. It's just you're not going to win many games when your best shooter has a performance like that. Conversely, too, it was just I mean, Matt Cross came to play, but you probably could have used a little bit more out of him. Maybe even a little more aggressiveness. Only took 9 shots. Samet Yigitoglu, he's one of the most confounding players in the ACC for me because you see the flashes of defense, like his defensive impact, even the way that, like, I would give Clemson's lack of paint points. I would give, yeah, their lack of paint points, or even Ian Shefflin and Victor Locke, and the two of them combined for just 16 points. You credit a ton of that to Samet, like his presence in the paint. He's truly massive, but turnovers have been something that have plagued him really down the stretch. I mean, I know going into this year, the scouting report on him was he's just like this massive post player with good hands who's supposed to be a shot blocker on one end, who's a lobster on the other, and even has a little extra passing upside. But I think his hands have looked really bad recently, where he's fumbling a lot of balls out of bounds, and it's just little things like that that tend to add up when your back's against the wall, when you're playing as an underdog against one of the better teams in the league. That I don't know. It seems like this game was there for the taking for SMU. I didn't think Clemson played particularly well outside of Chase Hunter. I didn't think their defense was like otherworldly or wasn't like it was suffocating them. It was just SMU like not taking advantage of the moment, and it comes down to those little details like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Clemson did not play well. It looked like Clemson was kind of, I don't want to say scared of the moment because this was a core of a team that made the Elite Eight last year, right?
Right.
It's not that, but they, I think, felt the pressure of it. There's a lot of, I felt like trying to do too much, trying to force some things. And you saw it with the kind of passes they were trying to make. There were a couple ones like they turned it over 16 times. Multiple of them were trying to force passes into like three guys and try to make like the perfect play instead of making the easy play. One thing to monitor too with Clemson moving forward, Dylan Hunter had the hand injury. Brad Brownell said post game that he probably broke his hand.
Hmm.
So if Dylan Hunter's got to miss some time, perhaps miss the rest of the season. That that's a blow for this Clemson team because he brought some dynamic playmaking at the uh, at the three spot for this Clemson team and added to the depth. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's a sneaky underrated loss. Just at this point in the season when you have your rotation settled, dealing with an injury like that, even if he's not like the flashiest player, still provides you some different looks and gives you extra versatility. And I mean, yeah, sure, maybe you credit that a little bit to them being out of their rhythm. I'm trying to think like did they have anybody who like Chauncey Wiggins? I kind of expected more out of, even
You
thinking
got
about someone who can
you're gonna need more from Chauncey Wiggins.
go for.
That's basically what this means is that Chauncey Wiggins has to get back to being the guy that he looked like last year, 2 years ago, as
Mhm.
opposed to the guy that lost his starting spot.
Yep, yep. Even like Chauncey Wiggins has had some nice moments even before he lost the starting spot. Like he
Mhm.
was scoring in double figures pretty consistently before they went to Dylan Hunter instead. But yeah, to see him respond with like a little extra added burn with by going 0 for 3. Just because I still think of Jake Hydebreeder as someone who you probably don't want to play for 20 minutes like he had to play tonight. I mean, just going
Yeah.
back before that, I think the sweet spot for him is really that 12 to 15-minute range where he knows he's in there to play a role.
Mhm.
He's in there really just to shoot and you can hide him defensively and not let him get picked on. So yeah, that is a good point, Ralph, with something they're going to have to figure out like going forward. And I don't know, it is a tough loss to suffer at this point of the season because it also, I mean, theoretically, you could throw Chase at the 2 or the 3. I mean, I feel like Chase and Jaden Zachary are kind of interchangeable at those 2, 3 spots, and they have enough size in the front court to kind of cover it up and just lean on Dell Jones more. But Jones is someone who, he's had some big moments this year where he's looked really impressive, but there's been plenty of instances where he hasn't been much of a factor, which I mean, you expect for a freshman who didn't come in with a ton of pedigree or anything. So I don't know. As a whole, I think there's enough pieces there for them to for Brownell to figure it out and to string something together in the perimeter rotation. But yeah, I think kind of the big takeaway here is like Chauncey. Like I had to look at the box score to make sure Chauncey Wiggins even played.
Right. Yeah. Like
I was like, I think I saw him out there, but I don't remember him doing much.
it's a big thing for Brownell and his coaching staff to juggle and the players on the court to adjust to at this point in the season. And there are no more easy games. Louisville's up next. That'll be a really fun matchup. Some really good ACC semifinals. And then you get into the NCAA tournament. There's not time to adjust. You had to figure this out on the fly.
Mhm.
We'll see if Clemson's able to. We'll talk more about that in the preview that's up on the channel for that Clemson Louisville game. So make sure you check that out, like and subscribe.